Okay, what we've got here is an epoxy floor, which we are going to grind off. A portion of it is going to be epoxy, and a portion of it is just going to be hard troweled concrete. And we're going to go over the process of preparation. We have a propane grinding machine. And what kind of tips are you using on this, Brad?
It's 50s.
Can we see it?
Double button 50s.
So these are double button 50s. That's what we typically use. All right. Okay, Brad, what did we grind this concrete with?
We hit this with the double button 50s here. Now on this, in between stages of grinding, because you're going to go 50s and 100s to get your smooth finish. But in between the 50s and 100s, you want to apply Multicoat's vapor shield to help densify the concrete. That way you don't lose a lot of our UV coating to sinking in, kind of evaporating, just soaking into the concrete. This vapor shield will stop that from happening, getting you better coverage out of your UV coating.
This is our vapor shield. It has a lot of benefits, but it is one of the better densifiers on the market.
The first step you want to do here is you want to apply water, just lightly mist over the area that's going to be vapor shield.
And that's what you're putting on now, is just water.
Just water right now. Lightly mist the area prior to application of the vapor shield. Now your first coat of vapor shield, pick one direction to kind of work your way. If you're going left or right on the first coat, the next coat you'll just go up and down.
How much coverage you get out of a 5-gallon pail vapor shield?
1,000 square feet, 2 coats.
So that's 1,000 square foot for 2 coats.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
Okay, so we have a dry substrate. Took about, I don't know, 15 minutes, and it is all dry. On the second application of vapor shield, it should dry a little slower.
Again, one time.
So when changing the blades on the grinder, basically lean it back, it has a stand on it, and you get up under it. And these are, looks to be, what are these, 50s, Brad?
Yes, the 50s.
That's what we used originally. So, simple key, unlocks the plate.
Throttle down before you start to allow it to warm up. Now before you engage your clutch on here, which when you engage the clutch, it starts getting all your stones, whatever you have on the bottom, that's what initiates the rotations on it. When you hit the clutch, you want to be at full rev. When you have full rev, before you hit the clutch on, you want to press down a little bit so you don't cause a lot of stress on it to initiate the first spin.
Which deal don't work?
Just weight down so you lift up so there's not as much weight where all the stones are at, and then you initiate the clutch.
As you can see, the second coat of Vapor Shield taking a little longer to dry. That's
Alright, so we're back here. This is after the second application, the second coat of the Vapor Shield. Now the next step of this process, we're going to go ahead and take, not the 50s this time, but the 100s on the bottom of our grinder, which we showed us switching out just a few minutes ago. Now the reason for this is going to help take out any lines left from hand grinder marks or any of the 50 marks that we left behind. This is going to help smooth it out, and it's going to remove any of the residue left over from the 2 coats of the Vapor Shield, which sometimes on the surface they might leave behind small white crystals. And some of these here that I can show you real fast is on right here on the tape. You can see on my fingertips it can leave some of this crystallization behind where the Vapor Shield has reacted with some of the alkalis and things that it can dissolve and turn into a hydrogel with. So that's another main reason for taking the 100s over, is just to clean the surface additionally, make sure you remove any other contaminants or anything that might bother with the bonding of the UV coating over top. Okay, you go ahead. Again, for your perimeters and corners, things like that, you can take a hand grinder again. This is 100 grit as well, just attaches onto, this is just a 4-inch hand grinder here. And then this way you can get into all the tight corners that the larger floor grinder cannot reach. Alright, so we've hit some of this area now with the floor grinder with the 100s on it. One trick that I've learned after doing this UV coating here is if you kind of look at the surface in some of your areas, you might notice some scratches, and they might be of a concern. You're worried about them mirroring through the UV coating. Well, the trick that I've learned is if you just take some water and go to an area where you see some of these scratches and you're concerned about them showing through, you can just take some water, pour it over top, kind of spread it out, and if you don't see the scratches showing through the water, they definitely will not show through the UV coating. And even if some of them do show through the water, if they're not very prominent, the UV coating will cover those up as well. So just one trick there to kind of double check yourself before you apply the actual UV coating to the surface.
okay. The light we use is this Bulldog, and it runs off of a 220. So we run it off of a generator, and
for the application, I'm going to pour out a little puddle here, and then I'm going to back roll it with a foam roller. That way you don't pick up too much lint and you don't leave anything behind as you roll it. Now this whole area has been cleaned off since we last hit it with the 100s here. You want to make sure that if you are close to an outdoor exit or entryway, if you have sun coming in, you want to make sure that you close off all those doorways, because any UV that hits this, of course, even from the sun, will start to react with it and start the curing process.
so about how much square foot does this cover per 5-gallon pail?
Per 5 gallon, you're going to be getting around 2,000 square feet.
That 2 coats?
That is 1 coat if you use a foam roller. Now sometimes you can apply with a window squeegee, pretty much is what you can use there. And if you do that method, I would recommend going with 2 coats.
But the way we like to do it is the 1 coat.
1 coat and you are done. And you can always go back and do a second coat if there's some areas that does not look like you got well enough, or if there are some imperfections. You can take light sanding paper, 80, 100 grit, and rough up the surface, wipe it down, and then apply another coat.
Now, this is resistant to just about all chemicals, correct?
Correct. Very low maintenance, very easy to clean.
Doesn't have any odor, it seems like.
No, and once again, the upside to the UV coating is once I get this spread out, as soon as that UV light runs over top of it, it's ready for use. You could roll a fork truck right across it as soon as I hit it with the UV light. Ready for full traffic. Now, as you can see here, none of it's really soaking in. It's all sitting on top, and that's in part to using the vapor shield as the densifier beforehand. If you wouldn't have used the vapor shield and applied it in enough coats to where it has reacted properly, you might see some spots where it actually starts to soak in, and that's where your concrete hasn't densified, and this material will soak itself in if the concrete has not been properly prepped or densified. Now, important equipment you want to have with you before you run the UV cure machine. You want to make sure that you have UV protectant glasses, because this is a reflective surface, especially if you're going to be running the handheld lamp. It can give you sunburn on your eyes and your skin. So if you're running the handheld lamp, I recommend wearing long sleeves during that.
Basically, this would pretty much stay wet until UV light hits it.
That's correct. It would never cure on its own. It would sit here. It might tack up a little bit, but it would definitely stay in its liquid form.
So what are you doing now? Just back rolling it?
Just back rolling it and making sure I have it smoothed out. Oh, okay. So when you start to do this, you want to go ahead and flip your power switches on down here at the base. Then you're going to hit your power button. Now, as this comes on, you're going to see a gauge here. It says cure speed. Now, when you start rolling this thing along, it's going to start reading numbers back to you, and you can change your setting on what you want your cure rate to be. Now, these numbers that it reads back to you are feet per minute that you are walking at to cure. Your target speed right here is the middle center light. That is what you want to shoot for to maintain as you're rolling the light over top. If you move too fast, the UV may not be strong enough to go ahead and cure the material, which is where you might leave wheel marks behind from the cure machine. If you go too slow, you know, it's going to cure it properly. It's just going to take you longer to cover the entire area. And the best way to do this, once you make sure that your wheels are completely clean, you want to start where you can get a straight run.
No, what? The wheels, yeah, the wheels definitely need to be clean, correct?
Absolutely need to be clean.
What do you clean them with?
You can take acetone or just any type of, get you a clean rag and really just take your time, make sure the wheels, you don't want to have any debris left on top of those. Now, before you start using this UV, remember the reflective surface, have your glasses on, that way you don't damage your eyes. And if you're on a bigger, larger job, you want to have a secondary guy that's in control of your cord that's running behind you, because as you're going through, you do not want to have it drag through uncured material. Obviously, it'll leave marks in behind you, and you'll have to back roll those areas again.
right, so
So your wheels picked up a little bit of dirt or dust as you were curing everything. All you need to do, go behind at the end once you've cured the entire area. You can take a cloth, just a clean cloth, and go ahead, and these wipe right off. It takes hardly any time, and it shows you just how easy this surface is to clean and maintain.
okay, here's my point with the fork truck. See this, see that. You don't see anything. Big difference. This is epoxy, this is UV clear. Big difference. Epoxy, UV clear.